Getting ready to build my doors finally for my cubby upstairs in our laundry room, and this is the stock I have left over from my pool table light, and I've got plenty here, but I just wanted to show you that most of this stuff remained nice and flat and stable except this one piece right here. So it's got a little bow in it, but that's okay. I'm going to cut it in half anyway, so it'll take a lot of that out of it. But what I need, I just wanted to show you this. What I need to do is my opening is 28 and 3/4. Let me get this. There we go. 28 and 3/4. Wide and 15.5 inches high, and and then it's got it's the inside dimensions. So I'll just put it that way. So what I'm doing is I'm building my doors, and I'm going to use a European style hinge, and they overlap by 3/8 of an inch. So doing the styles is easy because that dimension is really not going to change. So it's 15.5 plus 3/4 of an inch for your 3/8 overlap on the top and the bottom. So it ends up being a 16.25 by 2.25, and then obviously I'm going to need 4 of those. I have 2 doors here. So, but the figuring out the rails is a little bit different because it's 28 and 3/4 wide. You have to divide that by 2, and then add 3/8 on each side, okay? And then you subtract your 4.5, which is your 2.25 inch width for each times 2 for the styles on each door, and then you have to add 3/4 for the tongue that's going to fit into each of these grooves that you're going to cut for your panels. So doing all that math, 28 and 3/4 minus, or divided by 2 plus 3/8 minus 4.5 plus 3/8, or plus 3/4, I'm sorry, it ends up being 11 inches by 2.25 wide, and then I need 4 of those as well. So 4 of these, 4 of those, tongue and groove on these, and just grooves on these, so everything will center up and mate together nicely. So lots of ways you can do this. I mean, you can do it with loose tenons too if you wanted, but I like this tongue and groove because it allows you to run everything through on the table saw, and everything just matches up perfectly. All the gaps are filled, squares up perfectly. As long as you're doing your joinery correctly, and then away you go. So I'm going to mill up some stock, and then I'll show you how I'm going to cut the grooves and tongues. This is pretty straightforward stuff, but this is the kind of thing that doing this kind of stuff is you can learn a lot from doing this type of joinery. So let's get going here. I'm getting ready to use one of our new and custom made just for us extrusions, milled, flat, and true. I mean, these things are just fantastic. Flat here now, and true because they're CNC that way. And I can't be more excited about this because it's just a dream come true for us and anybody that's going to buy one of our table saw fences. I'm going to cut these a little fat so that I have, just in case it bows on me a little bit, if you relieve some tension in here. And the other reason is I want to have some room to take these and either run them across my joiner or use a hand plane on them to take the saw marks out. This one here took a little tension out of that, and it's got a little cup in it now. I shouldn't say cup, a little, yeah, I guess it is a cup. A little bend in there. So I'm going to cut these in half anyway, but that gives me something to work with, that little extra. Cut these a little bit fat this way, so I have room to clean up these saw marks. But I have no problem now going against this extrusion and checking for straightness. And I've got a little bit of bow as I cut this, it released some tension, but I'm going to cut I'm going to cut these in half. I'm going to run them across my joiner again. That's that one. This one's got a little rock in it. You know, not that way, but I can see the little gap here. Again, I'm going to cut it in half. And I've got room to do it on my joiner. Now these are going to be my, what are these going to be? These are going to be my rails. So these are going to get cut in half, and I'm going to get 4 out of this. They stay pretty true that way, but this one stayed pretty flat. Just a little bit of bow in that one. This one here, I got a big time bow in this one. You can see that. So hopefully when I cut this in half, I will lose most of that. But I'll check that after I get done doing that. So what I'm going to do now is cut them into a length, or a rough length, and then joint the one edge and see where I'm at as far as thickness here. Okay, just made a whisper pass on some of these, because some of them were not touching the blade. And some, I mean, these were so close, but I want to get rid of this burning here, and I'm gonna jog my fence over just a little bit more. And first, I'm gonna take a measurement here. I want to measure one of these short ones. Yeah, this is one of them. Yeah, this is the 2.26 or 2.27, so it's 30 thousandths over, and my indicator here is a bit proud, or a strong 2 1/4, and the ones that were being milled, one of these right here, I think these were at 2.29. So I'm going to move it over about 20 thousandths and then make another whisper pass on all of them, and that should get all of them. And let's see here. I'll do that with my dial indicator here. Just set this up. Zero it out. Right there. Move my fence 20 thousandths. There. And let's run them again and see what happens. they're about 20 thousandths over yet. Yeah. So that's fine. That gives me a little room to run the hand plane over them, which is what I'll do to clean up these edges. And I'll make sure, what I want to do now is I want to take and leave my jointed edge on the inside, so that when I go to join these up, I know that I've got a nice true edge. Sometimes when I use a hand plane, I'll ruin that squareness, but right now that looks like a nice joint. So I've got them set up here with all the jointed edges facing this way, and then you might have noticed I've got a couple extra pieces of drops here that I'll use to set up my tongues when I get to that part of the operation. So let me clean things up here a little bit, and then I'm going to set up a dado set to make my 1/4 inch grooves and everything, and then we'll come back. Alright, a brief explanation, I guess, of what I'm doing here. I did have my dado set up with 2 blades for a 1/4 inch width dado, but I've decided against that because I want it to be perfectly centered, and I want it to be slightly undersized. So that's why I've changed this up. So I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to center this up here, or as close as I think I can, and make a test cut in one of my drops. Measure the width and the depth, and see where I'm at. I want this depth to be about 3/8. I think I'm pretty close there. I'm just eyeballing it, I guess. Let me put an edge on it. Yeah, that's going to be close. I think it's, I might be a little under, but I'd rather be a little under than too deep. So I'm going to run it once this way, once this way, and then kind of carry on from there. Something's going on here. Oh, I see what's going on. Hang on a second. There we go, that's better. All right, let's see what we have here. Well, and the other reason I wanted to explain this to you too, the other reason I'm using my dado blade is because the teeth on it give me a flat, nice flat bottom, where my other saw blades, you get that kind of a V-cut bottom on there, and I don't want that. I want it to be a nice flat bottom. That is just slightly under 1/4. I'm looking at my panel here. Yeah, that's plywood, but I've also got fit. Not bad for the first try. So what I'm going to end up using is Baltic cherry plywood, but it's MDF. The plywood is thinner, but I want the thickness of that Baltic or that plywood, and you can see I got a nice square bottom. Now let me check the depth here. That is just a hair over 3/8. So I'm going to drop this down just a bit. I'm going to run the other side here. That's 3/8. I can't get any better than that, I don't think. .379. I don't know if you can read that or not, but that's pretty darn close. I'll take it. All right. Just going to run all my pieces now, and then we'll come back and we'll make the shoulders. I don't need to run this one. Or this one. I guess I have more extras than I thought. There you have it, all 4 or all 8 pieces, perfectly centered grooves. And now I'll set up and make my tongues. on these pieces after I figure out what, you know, I gotta cut them to length first. But these I can set aside and not worry about those right now. All right, a brief explanation, I guess, of what I'm doing here. I did have my dado set up with 2 blades for a 1/4 inch width dado, but I've decided against that because I want it to be perfectly centered and I want it to be slightly undersized. So that's why I've changed this up. So I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to center this up here, or as close as I think I can, and make a test cut in one of my drops. Measure the width and the depth and see where I'm at. I want this depth to be about 3/8. I think I'm pretty close there. I'm just eyeballing it, I guess. Let me put an edge on it. Yeah, that's going to be close. I think it's, I might be a little under, but I'd rather be a little under than too deep. So I'm going to run it once this way, once this way, and then kind of carry on from there. Something's going on here. Oh, I see what's going on. Hang on a second. There we go, that's better. All right, let's see what we have here. Well, and the other reason I wanted to explain this to you too, the other reason I'm using my dado blade is because the teeth on it give me a flat, nice flat bottom, where my other saw blades, you get that kind of a V-cut bottom on there, and I don't want that. I want it to be a nice flat bottom. That is just slightly under 1/4. I'm looking at my panel here. Yeah, that's plywood, but I've also got that's a good fit. Not bad for the first try. So what I'm going to end up using is Baltic cherry plywood, but it's MDF. The plywood is thinner, but I want the thickness of that Baltic or that plywood, and you can see I got a nice square bottom. Now let me check the depth here. That is just a hair over 3/8. So I'm going to drop this down just a bit. I'm going to run the other side here. That's 3/8. I can't get any better than that, I don't think. .379. I don't know if you can read that or not, but that's pretty darn close. I'll take it. All right. I'm just going to run all my pieces now, and then we'll come back and we'll make the shoulders. I don't need to run this one. Or this one. I guess I have more extras than I thought. I'm using this as my setup gauge basically. What I've done is I've set my fence to 1/8 of an inch from this blade, plus the 1/4 inch thickness of the dado, which I have set back up again, should give me my 3/8 tongue that I want. Then I just eyeballed this, and this thickness here is my depth of cut. And that should be it should be the same on both sides. Now, ideally, what I want here is to be just ever so fraction short of that. So we're going to find out how well I did here. I think I've taken too much. It looks thin. Yeah, it's thin. So I got to back that down a little bit. The depth, though, or the length is just perfect. Just a little bit short to allow room for glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this off and start and run it again. But I'm going to drop my blades here just a bit. That should be plenty. Let me cut this off on my tab right there that just broke off. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So I know that's it right there, man. Beautiful. Just a little slip fit. No wiggle. Beautiful. Flush on both sides. So that's what we're looking for. So if I take this and try and wiggle it, you can see I'm moving both pieces. That's great right there. And that's nice and square, I'll bet. Yes, sir. That's dead square. I guess I got just a little daylight there on the bottom, but it ain't much, I'll tell you that. Okay, so I'm going to figure out my length, cut these to actual length, because they're about 1.5 inches long right now. Cut them square, and then come back and put the tongues on them. Okay, in that last shot, you saw me when I was making that test cut for the tongue here that when I put it up against my fence, it didn't look like it was square, and it wasn't. And the problem was my miter saw. And now I made a little minor adjustment to that. You can see that I'm nice and tight here, nice and square. So I'm good to go.